I've seen some pretty bad floors before, and I think we all can look back in our memories and think of a floor that we just didn't really understand why it looked so bad. However, what we are about to embark on today are some of the biggest do not do's in the commercial flooring world. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another commercial flooring video brought to you by Starnet. I am Tanner McHugh, and I am happy you are all joining me today. Yes, we finally made it to some flooring fails. You can't live with them, and you can't live without them, I guess. Now, just so everyone knows, so they don't feel like they're getting duped when they're watching this video, but I won't be going through different projects and pointing out where they went wrong. If you do want to see a video like that, feel free to leave a comment down below. I think we could get a lot of entertainment out of that video, but that's not the point of this video. This video, I just wanted to point out some of the biggest do not do's in the commercial flooring world. These are some very helpful insights for some of our flooring newbies or some people that are just really frustrated in their commercial flooring journey. Just some things to point out that will save you a lot of time and for sure a lot of money, and it will for sure limit the amount of headaches you will be getting during these projects. So come on down, you commercial flooring lovers, and let's talk about some flooring fails that we can avoid. And be sure to stick around to the end of the video where we talk about the biggest fail to avoid during your projects. I've seen probably hundreds, maybe even thousands, maybe even millions of different floors in my time. However, you could tell almost instantly when durability was not considered for a single second during the project. Yes, for frequent flyers of this channel, you're probably thinking, Tanner, we're talking about durability again? And yes, we are, because it is very important with commercial flooring. Honestly, any flooring for that matter, residential, commercial, you name it. Any type of flooring, durability needs to be considered. So obviously, if you have a high foot traffic area, you need to consider for that. And then if you have a low foot traffic area, you need to consider for that as well. I'm sure we've all walked into a space that gets thousands upon thousands of footsteps a day, and the flooring just looked a total mess. Now, we've also walked into some spaces where there's thousands upon thousands of footsteps, and the flooring looks great, and the building or project has been there forever. In both of those scenarios, I think you can tell one took durability very seriously, and one didn't even consider it. And especially in those areas where there is a lot of foot traffic, there's also a lot of eyeballs. So you don't want a floor that looks dirty, out of place, destroyed. You want a floor that looks like it can stand the test of time. The whole reason you picked that floor was so it looked good for those eyeballs, so might as well look nice. Then on the other hand, an area that might have some low foot traffic might focus more on the comfort aspect of the flooring. The creation of that flooring doesn't have to be super durable, so it can be more towards that comfort feel. And then we also have to talk about the environment around the floor, which again, frequent flyers will be like, geez, Tanner, we talk about this all the time. But if you have an environment that's constantly changing, you need to make sure your flooring can adapt with it. So really what I'm trying to get across here with durability is just at least consider it with your space and think of multiple outcomes that can happen. Because again, you want the eyeballs on your floor to think, wow, that's a really interesting floor here, and you don't want them to think, ugh, what happened to that floor? All right, moving on. Honestly, if you do not take care of these simple maintenance steps with your floor, you are going to have a nightmare on your hands. Now, to be honest, this section could probably fall back into durability, but in my opinion, it's just a little bit different. And to be honest, the theme of this step is just really understanding what you need. However, you also have to know the maintenance behind your floor. If you don't want to do a lot of cleaning, or you're in a space that might not require a lot of cleaning, then you need to consider it with your flooring projects. However, if you're in a job field that requires a lot of cleaning no matter what floor you put in, then you definitely need to take this step into consideration. For example, if you're in a kitchen space, there's probably going to be a lot of spills, so there's going to be a lot of maintenance and cleanup that go along with it. So make sure you're picking a floor that is easy to clean in that environment. On the other hand, there's some spaces that also require floors that are going to get a lot of stains. And you need to make sure you're taking the necessary steps to get ahead of these problems rather than wait till it's absolutely a crime scene to look at. Because to be honest, floor care is very innovative nowadays, and these crime scenes can easily be taken out. But at the same time, if you take the necessary maintenance steps before it gets too bad, you're going to be in way better shape. And your floors are just going to look a lot better in the long run, and honestly, they're just going to look how they should. So again, save yourself a lot of time by making sure you're reading up and researching the maintenance that goes into your floor. Don't just give up on the maintenance steps the second your floor is done. And be sure to save yourself a lot of money by understanding the right floors for your safer working environment, so you're not wasting money on floors that are going to take a lot of maintenance that you don't need to do. There really is nothing worse than slipping on the job. However, when it's all said and done, it usually falls back on the owner for their reckless flooring decisions. So let's talk about some flooring fail tips to avoid these reckless decisions. So again, to go along with flooring maintenance, you have to understand the floor and the environment it's going to be in, and understand the risks with that floor when it's in that environment. I like to use the example of a kitchen a lot when describing risks because it's usually a very slippy floor. I mean, I've seen a lot of chefs use Crocs just because of the floors being so slippy. So obviously when you're putting in a kitchen floor, it's going to get wet, it's going to get damp, it's going to get food on it. There's going to be a lot of foot traffic, especially during those peak dinner, lunch, and breakfast hours. So obviously slips are going to happen, and obviously there's a lot of other scenarios in other job fields where dangerous things can happen from poor flooring decisions. And I'm not saying there's a floor that will just totally negate the possibility of slipping. However, when you are picking a floor, you can at least do your best to pick the floor that's going to keep your environment the safest. And then one tip I want to end on that not a lot of people think about when you're talking about safety, but that's hygiene. A great example in flooring to talk about with hygiene is obviously workout mats. They're literally designed for safety, obviously, but also built to be easily cleaned because, well, people are working out on it. They're getting sweaty, a lot of germs getting spread around, so they're made to be safe and they're made to be hygiene efficient. On the other hand, there's bathrooms, and I think we've been in plenty of bathrooms where we think germs go in there to play poker. But all jokes aside, when you're putting in a floor and it's an environment that easily gets dirty or it's part of the market, then you need to consider hygiene and safety heavily when inputting that floor. Floors are pretty complicated when you really break it down. However, they're turned into pretty simple but intricate layers. However, what most people think is a pretty simple process is turning into a modern day horror in flooring. Of course, I am talking about understanding your subfloor. And for those of you who have no idea what I am talking about, please stick around so you do not end up on one of these flooring fail videos. And to be honest, subfloors can kind of be complicated, especially if you have no idea what you're doing, so make sure you do your research on the proper installer. So basically what a subfloor is, it's the layer below the floor that we all know and see. It's kind of like the foundation of a house, so it needs to be sturdy, it needs to be ready, and it needs to be prepared the right way. Moisture and uneven subfloors are literally the kryptonite to your project, and if not handled the right way, it could really ruin your floor for years to come. And to be honest, improper subfloor management might not be noticed right away. However, over time, it could create a real nightmare on your hands for a floor that was supposed to last you a very long time. For those of you who have seen that How I Met Your Mother episode where they buy the house and it's totally uneven, I'm sure the subfloor was uneven and then they put the flooring on it and then, well, the whole house, and there you go. Obviously, that's a pretty dramatic example used for comedy, but again, you need an even subfloor to make everything work. And it could throw the entire environment off, which flooring can be known to do. But if you do the right things with your floor, then the entire environment can shine around it. But all starts with that subfloor. In conclusion, all I really have to say is know the floor you're picking, and pick the floor that you need, and don't base it all on looks. Obviously, we all want nice floors, and like I've said, nowadays, you really can pick the floor that looks very appealing that also fits your needs for your environment. Basically, we're not putting carpets in bathrooms because, it's gross, and it just is terrible to clean, terrible hygiene, but that's just an example. Know the floor you need for your environment. Why did I pick such an odd example? Oh my gosh. Know the risk with your floor, pick the right installer, know the usage, and don't end up on the Flooring Fails Facebook page, and you'll be just fine. Speaking of just fine, oh man, what a terrible transition, but anyway, if you learned something from this video, feel free to like and then subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. We come up with a lot of different flooring material to help educate the customer and obviously the contractors as well. Because ultimately, flooring is beautiful work and I want the world to see it. But again, know your environment. Don't end up in a nasty flooring situation. And with all that said, I will see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.